So the Singapore government just announced the budget for 2025 and oh boy, there were a ton of vouchers this time. But thank goodness there weren't any huge CPF nerfs this time round after that scary announcement of CPF SA removal last year. In this video, I will break down the key highlights from budget 2025 as well as some points that weren't mentioned but are just as important. First up, there's a lot of benefits this time round, and by that, I mean a lot. I won't go through every single one of them, but here are some of the more notable ones. Singaporeans aged 21 and above will get $600 worth of SG60 vouchers, and if you are 60 and above, you will get $800. And if you are 12 years old and below, the good news is that you will also get $500 life SG credits. But the bad news is that your papa mama will help you keep the money instead. Then for those aged 13 to 20, you will get a $500 top up to your education account. There will also be $800 worth of CDC vouchers, $760 worth of YouSave rebates, and another $100 worth of climate vouchers if you live in HDBs, or $400 if you live in private property. Basically, vouchers everywhere. Everyone will also get a 60% personal income tax rebate capped at $200, and if you own a company, your company will also get a 50% tax rebate capped at $40,000. Next, if you have a third child, congratulations! I don't know how you can afford it, but you will also get to receive up to $16,000 worth of additional support. Oh yeah, there will also be a mystery SG60 baby gift for babies born in 2025. As for what it will be, no details are shared yet, but I hope it's a brand new HDB. Just kidding, yeah. On the CPF side, the contribution rates for those aged 55 to 65 will increase by 1.5% in 2026. This will consist of 1% from your side and another 0.5% from the employer's side. Q comments saying that the government is taking more and more of my CPF money. Don't worry lah, this is to boost your retirement income, which will give you a fixed monthly payout after you turn 65. Besides, once you achieve the full retirement sum, you will still be able to withdraw any extra money from your CPF OA anyway. Also, the government will match voluntary MediSave top-ups dollar for dollar for up to $1,000 per year, which is like sibei huat sia. So, those were just some of the benefits that were announced this time. There is a lot more stuff, like what SG Culture Pass lah, what Active SG Credit Top-up lah, and so on. In fact, based on my estimates, me and my household could get over $5,000 worth of benefits. Not bad ah. If you think that's a lot, just wait till you see what other households can get. Like in 2024, if you live in a 3-room HDB flat, you will have gotten around $9,000 worth of government transfers. And if you live in a 1 or 2-room HDB flat, the amounts could even reach $16,000, which is a lot of money. Though, of course, you will get the usual comments like why give so little lah, why never give more lah. Next, the government will also launch over 50,000 new HDBs over the next 3 years. This is actually quite in line with the current number of annual launches. And perhaps one of the more exciting announcements is that the government will start to study the potential of deployment of nuclear power in Singapore. This will not only help with decarbonizing its energy sector, but will also reduce its reliance on imported fossil fuels. Though, of course, there's the whole concern about how safe the technology is and which parts in the issue that they will build it in. Just kidding, guys. Quick pause. If you are looking for the cheapest broker to start your investing journey, check out Interactive Brokers. It has the lowest fees for stocks, ETFs, options, and more. Not just that, Interactive Brokers lets you easily research stocks. Like, you want to check out companies' financials? Here it is. You want to check out analyst ratings? Here's a bunch of them. It even has free technical insights which tells you where the stock might possibly go next. So sign up to Interactive Brokers today, and let's get back to the video. Moving on, I also wanted to show you where the government's money actually came from and how they were able to give out so much money, or so little according to some people. So prior to the budget announcements, economists were originally expecting a fiscal deficit of $3.8 billion for 2025. But as it turns out, Singapore actually ended up with a $6.8 billion surplus. Oh, DBS, you say the government deficit. Anyway, this sudden surplus was all thanks to a significant increase in corporate income tax revenue over the last 2 years. So what happened was that in 2024, the corporate tax revenue went up by a whopping 10%. As to why that happened, it was due to industry-specific cyclical factors in finance and wholesale trade. And it could also be due to big companies coming into Singapore to set up their businesses here. But whatever the case, it is still too early to tell if this increase in corporate income tax is temporary or a lasting trend, which is actually quite worrying. That's because Singapore corporate income tax contributes the most amounts of money to our government's revenue, where it contributes to more than a quarter of the total revenue. This is way more than our GST, way more than our personal income tax, and certainly a lot more than our COE, or vehicle quota premiums, which is only like 5.6%. In contrast, if you check how the US government earns their money, the two biggest revenue sources come from their individual income tax and their social security and Medicare tax. And it's not like I want to praise the government or anything, but I feel that Singaporeans are actually quite lucky that the government doesn't have to rely so much on personal income tax to fund their revenue. There's also no social security tax to worry about, no Medicare tax, and most importantly, no capital gains tax and no dividend tax. This means Singaporeans get to keep a lot more money for themselves to build their wealth instead of having to pay more taxes. Anggap bolas aside, as for how the government spends their money, half of it goes to social spending like education, healthcare, and national development. Specifically, about $3 billion goes to all these voucher stuff and other transfers. Then the rest goes to economic development, security spending, and the remaining 4% goes to government administration costs. Now, even though the government has collected so much revenue from taxes, after deducting all the expenses and special transfers, they are actually still losing money. Like in 2025, they were originally going to lose over $4.7 billion. Though, this wasn't as jialat as the 2020 pandemic, where they lost over $52 billion. Thankfully, they were able to cover this deficit through their investment returns, or also known as NIRC. Not NIRC, this is NIRC, where GIC helps to invest the government's assets to earn back some money. In terms of total revenue, NIRC is actually the second biggest contributor to the total revenue, right after corporate income tax. So with NIRC and a ton of corporate income tax, the government budget will always be in the surplus, right? Well, not quite. That's because the budget is actually breaking quite even, where in some years we might see some budget surplus, other years budget deficit. And it just so happened that corporate income tax revenue unexpectedly went up by 10%. Without that, we would actually be in a deficit now. Going forward, the government expects the fiscal position to be roughly balanced until 2030, which means for now, we don't have to worry about GST going up, at least until 2030, which may or may not be a good thing, depending on how you see it. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hope you found it useful. Like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday.